welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be doing the solo setup for the City of Kings by Frank West. This game is a Kickstarter which recently delivered and it was funded last year. This is one of my 2018 most anticipated Kickstarter deliveries. This will likely be quite the playthrough. So I hope you'll join us if you are coming to the channel for the very first time and this is brought you. I welcome you and hope you'll join us for what's coming in this particular playthrough along with all the other playthroughs that we're doing at the same time. So this one is going to take us starting with the solo setup, which is what this video is, which is going to not mention any rules whatsoever. We're just going to show you how to get the game to the table in the shortest amount of time possible, and we're going to go from there. So again, hope you'll join us and you'll enjoy. Now, in the last video, if you hadn't seen the unboxing, I do recommend to run back and check that out. You'll find it inside the City of Kings Showcase playlist that I've created, but you can also find it right on the uploads list as well. And right now we're going to jump into the solo setup. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just a little bit about the world in itself. So what I have here on the table is all of the different war banners kind of sprawled out on the table. So this is really cool, and you're supposed to do this as part of your setup when you first get the game. So essentially you're supposed to put all the standees on their stands. And once you've got them, I mean, you don't have to line them up like this, but I thought it would be really cool just to show you guys what they all look like. Of course, I've got the heroes here. So we've got 6 heroes ready to go. Now, in that unboxing video that I did earlier, that unboxing allowed us to basically collaborate as a community to decide which heroes we're going to go forward and use. So the 6 right here that you're seeing in front are the heroes that we can choose from. In terms of the war bands in the back or banners, I do want to make note that in terms of Kickstarter exclusive ones, that would be this guy right here. So you'll notice that the Kickstarter exclusive ones are a little bigger than the regular ones. So I put them on the corners so you can kind of see that those are exclusive in case you're picking up one that isn't a Kickstarter version. You're not missing out on much. There's only 3 of them. So there's 1 in the back here and there's 2 to the outer sides. So there's just 3 that you'll be missing out on. But in terms of characters, again, you've got all the villains in the back here, which we'll learn more about, and the different bosses in the world. But really our main focus in the setup right now is talking about which of these guys won. So who won out in terms of our solo play? Who are we going to be playing as? So based on all the votes from the unboxing video, which just went live a couple days ago, our highest selections and highest vote counts came in, and I've got them, and they kind of were runaway leaders, to be honest. The first one is Clamus Earthshaker. So that's Clamus right here. That's this guy. And I'm super excited that you guys picked him because this was one of my favorite characters when I saw him. He's just a monstrous rock-like creature. And I mean, he, again, in his name, it even says Earthshaker. So this guy's going to definitely be making his mark upon the land. So this is going to be one of the 2 characters we're playing as during the solo playthrough. Again, this is a co-op possible, like this game has co-op in it. So of course you could play 4 characters, although that might be a lot to manage. So when you're starting out, highly recommend solo play that you start at 2 and then go up to 3 and then 4 from there, as it even mentions in the rulebook. The next selection for the second character that we'll be playing is Talora the Blessed. That's right, this individual right here. So we're going to have Talora joining us, and that's pretty awesome because this is a really interesting character, definitely outside of the norm. So we did have a choice of a number of other characters, and you guys did actually have votes that came in for these particular characters, and they're all great. They all have their own specific abilities and things like that that are special for them. The artwork on them are phenomenal, so I'll just quickly go through them here so you can actually see them. They all look great, and again, the wonderful thing about this is that the game is including standees and not actual miniatures, so everything is essentially painted, if you want to say that, but you don't have to worry about that aspect of it, and I really, really, really appreciate that side of it because, again, it keeps the cost down for the particular game and gets more content into the game versus more miniatures to take up more space in the box. So, plus it just looks cool. I mean, look at all this stuff. So I'm really excited to get this one to the table. Hope you guys are as well. And right now we're going to jump into how to get the game to the table in the solo setup. So when you start separating content inside of City of the Kings for the first time, the best thing to do is to just color coordinate them for the map tiles by the color on their back. So you've got red ones on this side, green over here, as well as you'll find a deck of larger size cards, one with scenarios and one with stories, and underneath of those chapters, which then build into those stories. We'll talk more about how that actually works when we get to the playthrough. For now, the only card that you're going to worry about is the Story 1 setup card, as we're going to be going through a story playthrough. I recommend when you're starting out that you start with story number 1. So the card that we pulled right off the top of the deck is the one we want to start with. Just take a read over it to make note of a few things that we'll talk about as we go through the solo setup. So we have things like trackers, the stats, as well as the board setup down at the bottom here. So each story has a setup card showing you the map tiles, as you can see right here in the board setup, showing you how to actually lay them out, as well as which tiles apply. So in this case, 1, 2, and 3 apply. So you would go to your tile decks. Again, you can categorize these, as I mentioned, by the backs of them. You're simply going to flip each one over, go through them, and find every single map tile that has a 1, 2, or 3 in that bottom left-hand corner, and you're going to pull those out. Everything else is removed, so these tile stacks should shorten substantially or maybe a little bit depending on the story or the scenario you're playing. As you can see, the stacks have gotten significantly shorter, so now they're set up for this particular story 1, which we'll be starting with. Now, any of these decks, essentially, when they're actually compiled, as I did, making sure that they're only full of 1, 2, and 3 tiles, make sure you shuffle them thoroughly to ensure that they're not in any particular order, and you also don't know that order. Next, take the story card that you've been referencing and just put it off to the side of your play area so that you can reference it later when you need to. So in this case, I'm putting it off to the far right. Next, simply take the 2 piles of chapter cards and story cards as well as scenario cards and remove them from the play area, as we're going to now build out the map for the City of Kings. Also, you can take these 2 tile decks that you've placed and just move them off to the side for now as we build out the land itself. Now it's time to set up and prepare the board itself. So we're going to go ahead and take the City of Kings corner piece, which is just that. It's a corner piece. We'll talk more about how we set up the actual trackers on each of these in a few seconds. So essentially we'll place this in a play area so that we have a quick reference to it as needed. So I'll place it just like this for now. We may shuffle this left and right depending on how things play out. You also want to have your time tracker. Now in the box, the time tracker will not be assembled, so you're going to go ahead and push it through as well as capping it with the end piece so that you're able to spin this at any given time. I believe the starting spot for this is midnight, so we're going to place this to midnight, and then you can just put this off to the side of the game board just like this, and now we've kind of got everything set up for those 2 particular pieces. Lastly, we're going to put the old barn into play. So the old barn looks like this, and this particular old barn tile is going to actually sit here. So as you can see, I'm going to have to do a little bit of an adjustment in order to get all of this to fit. But just like that, we can have all the items fitting on the playmat. And again, I may adjust this even further as we go, but this is the first 3 things to start out. Now we're going to set up the trackers on the City of Kings corner piece, which is way up here. So first off, we're going to reference the story card, which was sitting on the right here. This story card has the trackers for 2 players right here at 2 hope. Midnight is the time, and morale's at 3. So let's go ahead and set those right now. So midnight was already set correctly, having the arrow going straight north on the time tracker. We're going to be using these 2, or we'll be using 2 of these tokens right here in order to represent the hope and the morale. We're going to have to move this down so you guys can see it, but morale should be starting at 3 for 2 players on this particular story, and hope should be started at 2, and then once you've got those in place, those trackers are all set up. This is where the deluxe version of the game with the trays, at least with this storage solution, comes in really handy in terms of setting up the supplies, because you're supposed to place all the dice, resources, and tokens near the side of the board. And honestly, the best way to do that is to have them already arranged in one of these types of trays, or if you come up with your own solution as well, custom, that works, or purchase a plano box, anything like that. So at the end of the day, as long as you have them categorized beforehand, your life is so much easier. So all I'm going to simply do is take each tray and place it on either side of the game board. So I'm going to place this one like this within easy reach. This one has the dice, it has player tokens, it has some other miscellaneous tokens, as well as some NPCs and things like that. This one over here we'll probably be using quite a bit. So because that, we want to have that in even closer proximity to us. So we have all of our wooden resources, which came in the deluxe edition, as well as some other tokens up here and modifiers. So we're going to take this whole tray essentially and just set it off to right here for now so that it's within arm's reach. Again, if we happen to put more things over here, I might have to shift it up, but for the most part, that works. And now we've got the trays set up on the table. Next up, we're going to set up the cards. So these are the particular card decks within City of Kings. You're going to want to make sure to leave a little bit of space because this particular map can actually grow about one tile further, at least for the particular one we're playing. So you want to leave at least a little bit of a gap at the top in case you need to move your decks later on, and it'll result in a little less pain. So you're also going to set up here your position, your equipment, your quest, and your skill cards, basically going left to right across the board. Then you're going to be taking your trade district token, which came from this particular deluxe tray, if you happen to put it in there, and you're going to fit it in between those two decks. Then you're going to go ahead and take the quest hub, and you're going to go ahead and plop that in between the two decks, and then you're going to take the temple and plop that down in between. And of course, you can reorganize these so that they're tighter fit together if you so please, but at this particular point in time, all of the cards are now set up at the top of the board. The only thing you have left to do is to shuffle each one thoroughly. Finally, to complete the card section of the setup, you're going to draw 4 skill cards and place them face up together under the temple header. So that's right here. So you're going to be pulling 4 cards off this particular skill deck. You're going to place them in here. Don't worry too much about the symbolism just yet. We'll talk more about this in the rules overview as well as the playthrough as to what these mean. Just get the 4 of them into position. Again, remember, you're going to have to worry about spacing, so it may be worthwhile looking at this as well as referencing your corner piece to determine whether you'll likely need to move this up. As you can see, this particular card will likely run into trouble, so later on I'm going to probably move this over or either to the right or up a little further in order to make space for future exploration. The next step to set up is the creature supply. So this is going to start off with the creature templates. So we're going to take this gigantic pile of creature templates and just place it off to the side. As you can see, I had to move the actual storage tray up a little bit to make space because I think I'll be going into this area quite a bit for some of our enemies. You'll also notice all the war banners are now all along the side here. So if I need one, they're visually ready and I can quickly grab whichever one I need. Of course, the ones that are Kickstarter exclusive are the taller ones in the back. Everything else is up front. Then we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to grab stat bars for bosses as well as the monsters in the game. And essentially the easy way to do this is basically you're going to have a gigantic pile of these tokens. They look like this when they come out of the game. Or out of the game for the first time, and you're punching through them. What you really want to focus on is how many actual player indicators there are on the particular tile. So in this case, 2. So in other words, you'll find ones that have 3 and 4. Take the 3s and 4s out if you're playing a 2-player game and stuff like that. So in this case, I am. So I'm only dealing with 2s, and then of course, make sure they're all in order. So 1 through to 7, and you've got all the boss ones resolved. So I put the boss ones right next to the templates, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab this stack, which again is in 2 piles. Because there's so many. These are all in order though. So essentially it goes 1 all the way down through to 15, then starting 16 to 30. These are going to be your stat bars. You're going to want to have them close as well. So I'll just place them like this and like this. And now we've kind of got all of those things in our area for easy reference later on. And of course we may move these a little bit as gameplay progresses. The next step in the setup is to choose your characters, which we have already done. So we'll easily just take the character sheets for them and place them out. So I'm going to place Talora the Blessed over here. We might actually leave some room to roll dice in the middle here. So we'll put them off to the side a little bit so we have a center area for dice rolling. And then we're going to take Calamus Earthshaker, one of the coolest characters I think personally, and I'm going to put this guy here like this. Again, if you happen to have the anti-knock sheets, this is the time to use them. Of course, make sure they line up correctly with the stats and the different categories on the player mat, and as you can see, it should sit just like this. The great thing about this is yeah, it does take away a little bit of the artwork and stuff like that, but it's going to keep things organized in case somebody bumps something, which is really the biggest factor there. So we're going to take the other anti-knock sheet and drop this on top of this character, and basically all the characters are set up except their actual individual stats, which we're going to cover in just a moment. The next thing you're going to want to do is grab all the tokens that apply to the specific character. So again, you're going to want to head to that tray that you set up earlier, if you happen to have it, and grab all the pieces out of it, then bring it over to your character. You can set them up along here as we go ahead and set them up. Some of them will remain here, some will go on the sheet, some will go into the play area. We'll be doing the same thing for Calamus as we do for our other hero. So we're not going to show both, we're just going to do one, and then you'll get the idea of how to set up both of them. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going you're going to grab your 1 worker token, which is this one right here. It looks like this. This worker token is going to go on the City of Kings tile itself. So in this case, it's going to sit just like this. Then you're going to take this one right here, which is your worker 2 token, and you're going to put it on your character sheet in the worker 2 section. So as you can see, there's a worker 2 section right here, and it's going to sit right in there like that. Now you've got that set up, we'll move on to the next set of tokens. Next, you're going to place the 4 action tokens in the action area. So that's these right here. There's actually 5 of them. We'll deal with the 5th one next, but the action area essentially is just down here. So we're going to go ahead and place these 4 down in this part of the player mat. And once you've got all 4 sitting in there, they don't actually go anywhere. They just can hover above his actual name or her name, depending on which character you're using. The 5th one, however, though, is going to be placed on top of this worker token that we put in earlier. We'll talk more about that in the rules overview and the playthrough as to why that is. Next up, we're going to talk about the 12 skill tokens. That's these guys right here, the circular discs. Now, you can put these anywhere around the player board that you wish because they don't go on the player board just yet. So for me, I'm going to put them on the far right side. Reason being is I want the center to remain for dice rolling, and I don't want to have them be knocked over during gameplay. So anywhere you want, top, bottom, left or right, wherever you find space, just drop those skill discs there and you're good to go. Next, we're going to talk about the 9 stat cubes and where they go. So in a few seconds, I'm going to place these all in the character mat, and I'll let you know from a high level so you can see exactly where they land. And just like that, all 9 of the stat cubes are all in place. You'll see they all sit in different positions on the map. So it's talking about health, we're talking about attack values, heal values. Over here we've got range, move. This one is luck and it's set to 0. This one's move, gather, and scavenge. A lot of them are set to 1s, but in the manual itself, as you can see right here, it shows to set up your character sheet. You don't have to worry about it because every single time the characters will follow the same setup that way. So you'll become very familiar with those values and what they should always be at. Again, we're going to be actually setting up my secondary character the exact same way, so we don't have to worry about actually showing you that, because once you've seen one, you've seen both. Next up, we'll talk about the health cube. So finally, we're going to go ahead and take our 1 red health cube on the health track and represents our current health. So this one here is going to actually land on our health, which is going to start at 4. Which is right in between all the other colored ones. And there you go. Now we've got our player mat set up as well as our entire City of Kings world. Another thing you're going to want to have set up is each of the 3 bags. And again, they come in wonderful colored bags. So there's medium, easy, and hard. And of course, the easy one is the green one. Medium is the yellow, and red is the hard. Make sure the tokens are in each one are applicable to each bag. So you can see that if I was to grab one from the medium bag, for instance, they should have the yellow back. If it comes from the green bag, it should have the green back. And if it's from the red bag, then it's going to be red back. And that's as simple as it is. Make sure they're all in there, shuffle them up, and just place them anywhere where it makes sense. Last step for this particular City of Kings tile is to basically put out your characters that you've chosen. So in this case, I've chosen Calamus Earthshaker. He'll be in the City of Kings. I've also chosen Talora the Blessed. Actually, you guys have actually chosen based on your votes, which I thank you for. And now we're going to actually place out the entire map. So we do this by taking a look at that setup card and the tile structure here. You'll see A and B are revealed. They're supposed to be specific tiles, so you pull those out. So the Tower of the North Wind should be where A is, and Oakwood should be where B is. Oakwood is a green card, and the Tower of the North Wind's a red one. So I put those 2 right on top so we know which is which. So we'll put those in last because that'll just make life easy. The rest you shouldn't know where they go, and essentially you just fill in the gaps. So you're following the actual layout as or according to that setup card until it's complete. And we're going to leave a space here, which is going to be right here for the one that's revealed. So we're filling in all the gaps. Of course, I'll have to adjust this as we go along. See, we're basically going until we don't have any more left, and that should end right here. So now we've got all the green tiles in place, but we do know that Oakwood needs to be revealed, so it'll be revealed and it'll be placed right here. And then next up, we're going to fill it in with all the reds. So the reds, except for this one, which is going to end up being the revealed tile that we have right here. So that's going to be interesting to do. So let's go ahead and get the other ones out. So we'll go like this, drop them all into position. And now we have fulfilled that particular area of the board. And next up, we take the revealed tile and place it exactly where that setup said to place it. And just like that, we've got the whole land plotted out. And just like that, the City of Kings is completely set up for solo play for 2-player. We've done absolutely everything. Everything's all set up, ready to go. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Hope it was helpful getting the game to the table. We will be going through a rules overview next, which is going to take you through the high-level rules of the game, help you learn how to play it. We'll go through all the nuances and kind of in-game mechanics when we actually go through the playthrough next. If you've never been here before and it's the first time you visited Rolling Solo, welcome to the channel, and I really hope you stick around and find this useful to getting games to the table and playing them solo. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I'm super excited for this one. Thank you again for all the votes for both of our starting characters. Everything's all set up. If you noticed anything I missed during the setup, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. As always, everyone, keep on rolling solo.